very, very good morning to you. It's already midweek and it's Wednesday, and I must say you are most welcome for the Kokoliriko edition of the Wednesday edition with me, Farish Majid. And from wherever you are, I must say it's a great pleasure having your day started off with West Nile Television, and really this is why you also need to watch us each and every day of the week. That is from Mondays to Fridays and from 7 a.m. to 9 a.m. That's what we do best, giving you insights onto some of maybe the topics and stories that could be trending in the due course of the day. So I think that is why we need to start off the discussion right away from what really happened yesterday. Yesterday, there were shocking news that reached really following the demise of a UPDF soldier who actually shot himself together with a lover over unknown reasons. But according to information we received, the two have been having issues in their relationship for quite some time, which has actually also been intervened by the relevant authorities after not yielding fruits. And yesterday, now police in Kampala is investigating circumstances under which a UPDF officer attached to military police shot his lover before turning the gun to himself. And that is something that really so many people were asking themselves what could have happened and really what could have caused this suicide and murder. Really, it was something that people were asking themselves so much, and now we're also asking ourselves what could have gone wrong. And you know, relationships really, sometimes people go through a lot, but when they do not open up, it becomes a challenge, because really they have to really abide by certain things here, perseverance here and there. But the question really I'm posing myself to you, the viewer, is how do you handle your relationship wrangles? How best do you handle your relationship? If the relationship is not moving on well, what do you do? Me, I kindly want to advise that you need to move on, really, even if you have been with this person for more than 10 years. But once this relationship reaches an extent where it is beyond repair, you need to move on, because really at times when the two of you become incompatible, this is where we see challenges of relationships, where we are seeing people murdering each other here and there. And with soldiers, it takes no time for them to murder actually and also kill themselves, because they're not there after. Something also may happen to them, so they prefer killing the lovers and also killing themselves. We have seen this happening quite often. So I think this is where I want to also pose this question to you. How best do you handle your relationships? That is a question you should be asking yourself now. And Corporal Collins Andebo, attached to matching the police post, is said to have shot his partner, that is only identified as Peroni Atulinda, a civilian support staff attached to the military police. So I think this is where people have issues, and according to maybe Andebo is tired, because really if you listen to maybe the name Andebo also itself, he could have been tired of certain things that this lady was doing, maybe was not doing right. That is why he also opted to turn the gun. So I think naming also sometimes is bad, because it may not be able to persevere enough. And imagine you're called Andebo. Andebo means he's tired, meaning that he could have been tired of maybe certain things here and there, maybe. But really, we also want to now pray for their souls to rest in eternal peace, because it is not an easy thing. Our relationship woes are usually something that is very, very difficult to handle, and this is why counselors are always in place. This is why several bodies are put in place to ensure that they advise couples, because really couples at times go through hell, but when they do not open up, this is where it becomes a challenge. And now I want to also advise each and every person in a relationship right now. You could be in a love and you are with somebody, maybe you're married, or else the things are not moving on well. I want to say this: relationships are never a smooth path. Even marriage is never a smooth path, as we usually say. There's ups and downs, where if you have any problem with your lover, I want to really also say that you need to open up. It's quite simple. Open up to your loved ones, open up to your relatives, open up to your friends, such that they can offer guidance to this person, maybe who is trying to harm you, or maybe who is trying to injure you psychologically, because really sometimes these harms do not come physical alone. Yes, even emotionally, psychologically, people go through a lot. But in a relationship, I must say, where one party feels he or she is tired, it becomes a problem, because there it becomes beyond repair. And this is why I want to say, if at all the relationship you are having maybe is that could be not moving on smoothly, feel free, make it quite simple, move on, because really if you don't do that, then definitely you are first of all going to harm yourself. Then secondly, you're going to put the risk, you're going to put the lives of those people that you claim that you love at risk. This is what really happened, because now the two are gone, and really I believe it could have been just a small problem that could have been solved, but then after several interventions from the according to information we got from police, these actually two failed to reunite. They actually had several instances of really colliding amongst themselves. This is where I want to say, why don't you just move on? If the relationship, you know, when love is still sweet, it is usually nice. But once you start having battles among yourselves, it becomes really sour, and this is where it becomes very, very difficult. But where one person also loves the other, when one is still having attachment for the other, definitely I must say it is usually quite difficult. But then the only advice I want to pose once again to you, the viewer, is even if your relationship is that one where you're not understanding each other, move on, because really maybe it's somebody that is meant for you ahead, rather than also putting the life of really of the other partner in danger. And really what happened yesterday is quite regretting. It's not nice, because if you saw the bodies of this man lying in a pool of blood, you will be able to really see that it is quite dangerous for people to commit suicide, because he actually shot the Atulinda first in the arms, but as she was being rushed to, that is Mulago, for that is further medication, she was able to pass on upon arrival at the hospital. And for him, he actually killed himself there. He shot himself in the head, and he knew that he would die. So I think he died, and that is something that we are now saying needs not to happen. And the Deputy Defense Spokesperson, Colonel Dewa Kiki, said Corporal Andebo had been deployed to provide security for former State Minister for Water Resources, and that is Ronald Chivuli. Really, that is, he has been a bodyguard to a minister. So I think this is where the thing happened. Now the shooting comes barely 2 days after Lieutenant Corporal Alfred Wada Okori was allegedly stabbed by his wife. You're seeing really what is happening among the forces. This is something that really the relevant authorities need to also really engage themselves and have an understanding of, because usually once certain things happen, there is a manifestation that is coming out. Definitely, maybe the other party could not be going through hell, maybe going through hell. So I think there's need for the relevant authorities to ensure that they make an understanding of what is happening among their forces, because really you're seeing a soldier just barely 2 days ago was stabbed by the wife, and then this one is also coming to kill the wife. Definitely there's something that I must say is wrong, and really there's need now for relevant authorities to come on board and ensure that they do something about this issue here, because if they don't do that, definitely we are still going to be witnessing people really also killing themselves here and there. I don't know, you as the viewer, what you think about it, but that is just a little, I feel I need to also really not exclude out, because really these are things that do not only happen to the army men. Even civilians go through a lot. There are people who are going through hell, but they cannot open up. You know, we are living in a period of gender-based violence on the rise, where we have also come to know that men are similarly also go through gender-based violence, but in most cases they do not open up. And now what happened to the soldier who was stabbed by the wife is actually a manifestation of, I should say, gender-based violence that is being practiced by women. But in most cases, men do not really open up on cases of gender-based violence. That is where I want to come on and say, please, as men, if you are going through a lot, open up. Recently, we had the police officers from the headquarters dealing with the CID headquarters in charge of, that is gender here. And she actually told us, if you are going through gender-based violence, what you need to do is quite simple. Open up. Even if you are not opening up to police, you can still open up to your family members. You have the religious leaders in place. You can open up to them, even their counselors who are in place. You can rush out to them, and they will be. So that is why we need to respond. And there on, which is really quite bad. And this is where, when very difficult, because you still have that, you have the part of yourself with them, and you still would want to wish to be with them, but really reasons, once they feel they're tired of you, you need to accept that reality and move on, because really, even if you keep on forcing things, you will not last. You have issues still here and there. So I think it is quite simple. For a loved one, this is to the adults who are in love. If you feel maybe the person is not doing the right thing to you, if you are seeing the red light, please move on. That is why I must also really call upon each and all of you. I'm not a love doctor. I have not come here to spread the gospel of love, but I must say, really, people sometimes go through a lot, and that is why I must also now stop that discussion there, as really as a person who of concern, because these killings do not really mean something very, very important for us. They really sadden us. So I think that is why I want to also really stop with that discussion there. And now moving on, for those who eat a lot, this is really a risk to your health, and you have been warned, and this is by the nutritionist. And this is something that also we are seeing on the papers here this morning. And eating too much food during lunch, dinner, or at breakfast can be habitual, more so if an individual person decides to make it a routine to consume high volumes of food. And really, what does this mean to your health? The eating tendencies can even worsen with the children who sometimes eat without no control, where their controls of food eating has to be controlled by adults. So I think as parents, you need to really also monitor the level of food your children are consuming. You do not have to leave them to continue eating, because once you do that, then definitely they will not have controls over their foods. We have people who are called gluttons. In Lubara, we call them dandalas. Really, it is not good, because that is a poor eating habit. It is unhealthy, which you need to desist from. And really, if you don't do that, then definitely it will have a negative implication on your health. And nutritionists warn the consequences of overeating infiltrate every aspect of our well-being. So I think from physical health to mental acuity. So I think that is something that we are talking about. The impact of overeating does not only remain on your bodies, even to your mental health. It is going to affect you. That is something definitely we need to really also ensure that we desist from and protect ourselves from. But really wonder, sometimes a person wants to consume a whole kilogram of food, and you wonder where this person even finds that stomach to continue eating this food from. There it becomes quite difficult, and you see somebody really trying to and struggling to ensure that they finish what they are eating, and somebody is eating more than a kilo, and you really wonder where the other person is going to keep the other things. So this affects, really, I must say, the digestion system. It affects you internally. So the digestion system is affected by this kind of overeating. And to make sure I say this, people with that sort of affairs overshadow their mental and emotional health, because really, if they come and find no food, then definitely they will be able to really also start complaining here and there. Why did you put for me small food? Why do you this? Definitely it becomes very bad. So I think people need to desist from that and avoid certain of these tendencies. And really, with that, we are going to be running for a short commercial break, and when we return back, we still have lots more to discuss with you here and there. This is still a Kokoliriko live show, only on West Nile Television, and really this is a chance for you to watch us. And for those of you watching us right now, feel free to also drop your comments on some of the topics that we are discussing. As we come back from the commercial break, we shall be able to really also read them loudly and clearly. For now, it's a short commercial breather. Thank you.
West Nile TV, lighting up the region. West Nile TV, lighting up the region.
This is still the Kokoliriko live show on Western Television, channel 0073 on Zuku, and also streaming us online. I want to say thank you so much, and you are most welcome aboard. And in case you're just joining us right now, this is still the Kokoliriko live show, and you're most welcome from wherever you're watching us from, and to this show where we are going to be letting you know what is happening in and around the world. And that is only on the morning updates. And I must say, so many things happened in the due course of the week. As yesterday, we also did see so many things happening here and there, and that is why we also come in place to let you know of what is happening. And every mornings from 7 a.m. to 9 a.m. And really, I want to welcome you on board and now say you are most welcome from that short commercial break. And this definitely is the show where we are going to be letting you know of certain things here and there. And you must also be part of the show. And really, you can engage in the show and the discussions by also sharing your views and opinions on to some of the topics that we are discussing here and there. And we started the discussions with the UPDF soldier who actually murdered himself and who actually committed suicide and murdered his wife, and that is the girlfriend or maybe or the fiancé. I don't know, because really that is the information that we got. And actually this incident happened in Machindi, that is in Kampala yesterday. And I must say that is where this soldier has been deployed, and this woman who is a civilian and is a worker who is not a soldier but work support staff to the military police actually was murdered. And really this was something I must say was quite nasty. And really we also did discuss overeating, because really for people who love overeating, there's a risk with it, because really in times sometimes people think these people who overeat, who want to overconsume, are drug abusers. But I must say no, some of them just naturally are people who want to overeat, but which is quite wrong. Now moving away from that, Army beef up security, that is in Upper area, where we have seen Rango, where we saw on Friday, where unknown people attacked and really burnt over 300 huts, where 2 Acholis actually were injured and 2 Madis from that area were also really killed. And I must say the Upper land conflict is still one that calls for urgent solution to me. I don't know why it is taking that very long, but I believe the Ugandan government has really powers in terms of addressing that challenge. And really I believe if security was deployed in that area, then this conflict that has been claiming lives of people each and every year could be history. Just imagine a scenario where maybe UPDF is deployed there for about a year. I believe these people with machetes, with pangas, can really, with bows and arrows, can be stopped, because this is how the attacks have been, that is done. And really you see people carrying pangas, people carrying bows, and this is actually one of the things that has been said and has been attributed. This fight in the Upper area has actually been attributed, that is, to tribal conflicts, and this is where it is between the Acholis of Amuru in most cases, and then the Madis, that is in Ajumani, and this is actually an area which is actually believed to be a border area, and this is where the fights are resulting from. And people, the other parties are saying this land belongs to us, meanwhile the other area is saying it belongs to them, and this is where government actually needed to come out clearly and now draw proper demarcations such that these people innocently who are losing their lives could be saved. And really each and every year we're talking about these attacks that continue to happen. Last year, even if you remember, the same scenario happened where we did lose innocent people losing their lives to this attack by suspected actually people who came and raided the area and also killed lives, and where we did see some of these people actually losing their lives, and others ran into the forest and they actually were grabbed. And after how long, I don't know, one was able to reappear towards the festive season, and others could not really be traced of where they are. And this man who actually resurfaced was able to really narrate the ordeal of how dangerous and how difficult life was in the forests, and something I must say was not quite good to witness. And that is how we as calling this, the government and other stakeholders to ensure that this issue is addressed timely, because this issue continues to bite on and without any proper support. And really, I want to now call upon government to ensure that this issue is addressed. We have seen several concerns by the leaders, both from West Nile and Acholi, trying to ensure that this issue is addressed. And in most cases, this has not very much yielded any fruits, because maybe they are not engaging their subjects very well, who are also involved in the attacks here and there, because I believe we are the same people. There's no need for us to continue attacking ourselves over border, over land. Land is something which we are going to live here, but I believe what is causing the interest there is the resource that is available. For instance, the forest cover that is there in place maybe could have been the one causing all this trouble here and there, because people want to benefit. And we have also come to an understanding that some leaders are actually benefiting from that. And really, that is something I don't know, but I also heard of it. That some people actually want to benefit from that. That is why this issue continues, and they continue misleading the subjects, and that is why it becomes very much difficult, where you as the leaders, once you start engaging the local people into certain of these activities, it becomes very difficult, because really at the end of the day, that ordinary person may not be understanding even why they are fighting. We have also come to an understanding that in most cases, these people who are rallied sometimes do not even understand why they are fighting. They just find themselves due to bandwagoning, and then maybe also because they saw the friends going on, and maybe they have also been influenced. And now that is why we're also seeing and saying now that is something that people need to desist from, because for people to continue killing each other over something that is going to be left there, it is very dangerous, because at the end of the day, it affects the unity that we have. And really, if we are to continue witnessing peace, this is something I must say is not good, because it is going to cost us as people of this region. Look at a scenario where we shall not be able to relate very well, that is for the people of West Nile to relate with the people of Acholi, and then for the Lango not to relate very well with the people of West Nile, and then for the Lango to also not relate well with Acholi, and Acholi relate not well with the Lango. It becomes very difficult, because we are the same people, and I believe in with Karamojongs, we are still the same people as people of this northern Uganda. So I think now there is something a government needs to do when it comes to addressing this conflict, because it is slowly continuing. And this, I must say, the repercussions of this may not be able to be felt now, but in the next generation, these issues will still arise. And really, remember, some of these conflicts that we witness today trace their origin way back to what happened in the history. And really, if we are to put this to a close, if we are to make this history, then this is the time now. It's the generation of now to really also solve this. Because if that is not addressed, then definitely we are going to be witnessing challenges of insecurity here and there. The murders that we're talking about, then definitely that is also not quite good. And I must say, we need to really also ensure that we address certain of these activities. And now, local authorities in the area say over 400 people from the affected areas have fled their homes, that is, have gone to camps, which is some kilometers away from the affected areas. We are displacing people in these wars, really, because people have to fly for their lives. Or once they flee and leave their homes, it becomes really quite difficult. And really, that is also really very dangerous, because we know how lives can be very difficult under these camps here, where you have to survive on donations in terms of food, in terms of clothing, in terms of water, where everything you have to really rely and wait for it from somebody, yet you are independent, yet you are living a peaceful life. It becomes very difficult. So Hassan Kato, the 4th Division Army spokesperson, confirmed the attack, and really said on Tuesday, saying security deployment in the area has been beefed up to avert further attack, and really that is something that we are now also helping. And now we expect them to also carry out investigations of who exactly is fueling the conflict, of what is really happening in that area. And if security addressed that, then definitely this concern will be history, because these people plan these attacks. What we have realized is that they first wait for the dust to settle, and where everything seems okay, they just carry out separate attacks, and these attacks continue. And really, in most cases, what we have been hearing is these are people who cross from Amuru, and then the others are from Ajuman district, and this is where the conflict is actually taking place. And what can be done to really solve this, that is something that we are yet following up on. And you do understand, to cross from Amuru to Ajumani, really, it is a short distance, but how do you avoid this conflict from going on? That is something that we are yet following up on now. We need to make an understanding. And the reasons behind the attack are still under investigation, but the army believes that it was from ownership claims of the area, which is contested by Maria and of Jumani, and then Acholi of Amuru, which is actually attributing to this conflict that continues to really claim lives. And early this month, General Charles Otemawani, the commander of the UPDF, received reserve forces called for calm as investigations into the matter are being investigated. And really this is something I must say now needs to be addressed timely, because if that is not addressed, and then definitely we are yet witnessing more of these killings, and really which are continuing to claim lives of innocent Ugandans, of innocent people who do not actually understand why this conflict must continue on, and they may not be able to totally understand why that relationship is there. And me, if they really give me the chance maybe to also address this, I would say let the government also come clearly and ensure proper demarcations, and really also degazette the forest to cover if where necessary. Also give it out to private investors, such that these issues of killings will be history, and really that would also maybe at the end of the day address this challenge. But I don't know how best you feel this challenge could be addressed. You can really also drop it via our comment section and let us know of what you think could be the solution to these killings, and make it history, because each and every year we continue to witness killings. Even way back in 2015, this is where I started hearing of these cases of killings here and there about this forest cover. So I think that issue needs to be addressed, because it is now long overdue since this issue is not addressed, and that is why I must also really echo out my voice and say we need to ensure that this issue is addressed, because if it is not addressed, then definitely that is going to continue happening. And now moving away from that, Zombo received a Class B ambulance, and that is a good one in terms of health. And yesterday we also did talk about ambulance, where well-wishers donated about 12 million to Edioffe Health Center 3 to purchase an ambulance that is in the honor and the remembrance of, that is Nurse Okudia, who really wheeled a patient that is all the way from Edioffe to Arua Hospital. You can just imagine the 2 kilometers where the health facility didn't have an ambulance, but now well-wishers have actually teamed up to donate, that is about 12 million. And then we also expect now for them to purchase at least some ambulance that would help the mothers, that would help the other patients in terms of referrals, because really referrals are very difficult, and sometimes where people need to be referred from here and there, it becomes very difficult because they have to pay certain amounts of money which they do not actually have. And really with the kind of tendencies that we have with our people, where somebody is taking the health facility where they have actually tried to spend a lot of money, that is in terms of purchasing the drugs, in terms of doing this and that, unless maybe those for accidents, this is where they are rushed. But for other sicknesses, people still waste a lot of money before they actually get to be transferred, and that is where they get admitted, and then that calls for referrals. And when it calls for referrals, in most cases it finds them when they have already spent a lot, which really monies they do not have. So I think having an ambulance on ground is the way to go. And now that the receiver of an ambulance in Zombo, we not expect it to disappear like how the other one of Arua disappeared, but really we expect maybe their funders at the gate to guard this one properly, because really it may also find its way in the DRC, which may not be quite good. And Zombo district leadership has commissioned a Class B Toyota Land Cruiser ambulance with registration number UG8154M, donated by Ministry of Health under Emergency Medical Services. So that is quite a good one. And the ambulance was commissioned at Paida Health Center 3, where it will be stationed for the constituency. That is something I must say is quite good now. And Mark Bramali, the district health officer, notes that some of the staff will be selected to undergo training under Arua Regional Referral Hospital to manage the ambulance. So adding that, the services are free of charge. And yes, this is really quite good. To train these people who are going to handle this ambulance is always good. More so the drivers and other stakeholders who are going to be in charge of this ambulance, because once they do not have a proper knowledge about what they're supposed to do, we may also find the ambulance ferrying tobacco or cigarettes like the other one that was impounded in Pakwach. So I think people need to use this ambulance rightly. We do not expect this ambulance to be misused, because if that happens, then definitely it's going to affect the final use of this ambulance. At a time where they may need it to be used for referrals, you will also find maybe ferrying cigarettes, which may be ferrying smuggled cigarettes, which would be quite bad. So I think there is need for people to really ensure that they use this ambulance properly, and now giving this for knowledge and also giving them training on how to handle this ambulance is quite good. And this is where we also expect these who receive the emergency calls to also be an alert, because for an ambulance driver, you are 24/7. And how many drivers are we going to be having? That is something that we are yet following up on, and we expect these drivers to be on standby. That is 24/7 for them to actually use this ambulance in terms of that is referrals. The LC5 chairperson of Zombo, that is James Oyuruna Oyulu, commends the initiative before calling upon the community to embrace the new ambulance. And yes, ambulance the community is a stakeholder in the ownership of this ambulance. And you, as the community members, also have to ensure this ambulance is protected and it is not misused. Where you are seeing it being used, maybe in terms of reckless driving, you have the mandate to report the hospital administration. And where you are seeing it also being used for doing, that is private business, for instance, where we did see one that was impounded at Pakwach, in cases of smuggling, you also have to be a whistleblower, because the ambulance is going to help you. It's going to help your sisters. It's going to help your brothers who may be able to be involved in accidents. It's going to help your sisters and mothers who may need maternity referrals. So I think it is good that this ambulance already arrives, that is in Zombo, and we expect it to work very well, because if that is not the case, then definitely it is going to be quite wrong. And the RDC of Zombo District, Lieutenant Colonel Pius Alitema has tasked officials taking charge of the ambulance to extensively maintain it before warning them that really for diverting it for unlawful activities. That is something that I was actually talking about. And the district leadership needed the ambulance of Ora County constituency is expected to in April, that is by Ministry of Health. Now, by the Health Center 3, serves a total of 171 daily patients. That we also some crossing all the way from the Democratic Republic of Congo. And that, what does that mean? It means that this ambulance is actually going to be used by so many people, and we are expecting so many people to be targeted under this ambulance, which is going to actually ferry them, that is from where they are, where we are going to be seeing this ambulance actually also making referrals from where it is, from Zombo to Nebi. It could also really be transferring patients from that Zombo area to Arua City, because Arua Regional Referral Hospital is a regional hospital, because it also receives patients who have been referred from other areas. So I think if this ambulance is going to be used rightly, we are going to also benefit a lot from it. So with that, really, if we can be able to close the discussion in relation to the ambulance there, and what you think about it is also really highly welcomed. And really also you can tell us what you think about what we are discussing, more so when it comes to about the ambulance. You can also really as well let us know of what you think, because this ambulance is going to not only going to be used by people of Zombo. We could also really see it making referrals up to Mulago, where we have seen maybe if the Rural Regional Referral Hospital does not have the services, because in most cases where we are seeing these other regional referral hospitals do not have other services, and the services are stationed, that is at the main national referral hospital. So Mulago is actually going to also be an area of access to this ambulance if it is rightly maintained, if it is always in shape, because efficiency is always good. An ambulance also to ensure that everything is safe. More so, it has to be efficient on road. When it comes to the brakes, the other services also need to be on clear systems. So I think if it's not addressed that way, and then it may not actually attain its intended purpose, and that is where we may not also really see the advantage of it being brought. As people of this region, we may also really say that it has not yielded much and was really not brought for the right use. So I think that is where I want to warn those who may want to be able to misuse the ambulance. And now moving on, the farmers in Moyo district have been urged to engage in horticulture so as to make quick money and reduce overspending in importing vegetables from other regions of the country. Yes, right now we are seeing other vegetables, for instance tomatoes, being that is ferried from the other parts of the country, more so Mbale and central parts of Uganda, where we are seeing these tomatoes actually being ferried using these trucks. But yet we could actually do the same if we engaged in farming from this area here, because all this do not need a lot of, first of all, a lot of monies. Secondly, they are faster to produce. Really look at tomatoes, it takes very short period of time. And once you engage in this, you have ready money, and with the ready market that we're having in place, and I must say, as for this region, it is us that really do not want to make the money, because we have the ready market. You look at what is happening in DRC, most of the food that really goes there actually comes from this region, and really what comes from the other parts of the country, once they come here, they also find their ways into the neighboring parts of the Democratic Republic of Congo and South Sudan, which is actually making it very hard and expensive now. And that is why food is becoming expensive in Arua City, because of the market that we are seeing in the neighboring parts of the country, because where you are seeing these belts that are being really, I don't know how they call it, these shells that carry tomatoes just find transfer once they reach Arua, they're also being transferred onto other vehicles, and they find themselves in Democratic Republic of Congo, they find themselves in DRC, and South Sudan as well, and I also believe they could be going as far as Central African Republic of Congo, because that is not an area that is a bit far from us, because we are also saying the distance from that country is a bit accessible. And that is one thing I must say, with the kind of heavy chunk of lands that we still have in this region, we can still engage in agriculture and really also be part of horticulture. And more recently, Muni University, through also in partnership with OMIA Foundation, did launch a refrigeration system that could be used by farmers to keep their perishable goods. And this is actually mostly the vegetables from actually being able to really also get bad. And that could actually ensure that they actually keep them for long. And I must say, I believe there's even no need for people to really think of keeping their produce for long when the market is always ready. And I must say, the market for these goods in Arua City is already ready, given the fact that we are bordering the two countries, and who actually also continue to influx our market each and every day. We are seeing traders moving in from the deep parts of Democratic Republic of Congo. We are seeing them also coming from DRC to Uganda because of the ready market that we have for them. So I think that is something that we also need to embrace as people of this region. Now the farmers in Moyo district have been urged to engage in horticulture so as to make quick money, and that is something most of the farmers in the district engage in growing food crops such as cassava, millet and maize, leaving behind quick growing and fast maturing crops. And that is why they have been actually being called to ensure that they engage in these practices. Really, if you look at what is happening, people want to really, more so in West Nile sub-region, people want to grow cassava. I've moved at least most of the districts in West Nile, you will be able to see so many people growing cassava, and really I expect very soon the price of cassava to drop. And what does that mean for the other crops that have been neglected? That means that the market is always ready. And really look at the tomatoes, they take very long to grow according to what we have been hearing from the experts. About 6 months or about 8 months, that is when you'll be able to really get your things ready. And 3 months, we have others that grow in 3 months' time, where you have money, and really you continue also harvesting it, and you not only harvest it once, unlike other crops that you can only harvest once. These crops such as tomatoes, you can harvest them more than 2 times. So I think that is something that really I want to call upon people of this sub-region also to embrace, because once they embrace it, definitely we are going to also find a ready market for them. And once we find market for these crops and then these other food crops also, we are going to move away from poverty, and poverty will be history. And remember, for us who have been complaining about poverty in this region, and I must say, with really the heavy chunk of lands we have in this place, we can still engage in that is food production. And really this is where the extension workers now have to come on board and also explain to the masses that, you look, yes, there's a lot of money in this, instead of really wanting to plant cassava all the time, because people are now engaging planting of these other crops because of bandwagoning, because they have seen the colleague doing that, they also feel they need to do it. And that is once they really, which is also affected by this issue of price fluctuation. Really very soon, I must say, we may be able to be hit by that is price fluctuation when it comes to cassava, because so many people have planted cassava, they have neglected other crops. And really if you move around, you'll be able to really see so many people planting cassava gardens. I was in Madiokoro very soon, recently. I went also to Terego, I moved to Maracha. I was able to see gardens of cassava in most of the places that I've been able to go to. So that's an indication that so many people engage, which is quite good, because each and every day people have to eat food. And remember, this cassava actually could also be used into other activities, and it could actually be transformed into making other things. And I do understand ethanol could actually be made out of cassava, and really that is something I must say people need to embrace now. They need to embrace certain of these activities, such that really when the time comes for them to actually make monies out of this, they can do so. Because really, if they don't do that, then definitely people are not going to be able to also engage in production, and then they may not be able to really also earn monies for themselves, because once they have no monies in their pockets. And with the government interventions such as the PDM, people could actually use this time rightly for them to actually make monies for themselves. If you look at the PDM, the myogas in place where government is actually trying to elevate people out of poverty. And I want to tell them that one secret tip is that the horticulture is actually an area that has not been very much infiltrated, that has not very much been invaded, and if they took advantage of, they would be able to really make a lot of monies for themselves. And that is how they will be able to also live poverty, and that is how at the end of the day we will be able to have rich people in farming, because farming really has a lot of money. And really recently also, when we did have the first agribusiness and renewable energy expo taking place here in Nairobi City, of which I was part of, and I did actually make understanding and did take a tour, I was able to really see the seedlings being sold cheaply. All you need to do is that really you have the gardens, and I was very much impressed to join agriculture, because I realized that there's a lot of money in agribusiness, and there's really a lot of money, that a lot of things that we do not know, a lot of money that really we continue to hear of. And as youths, if we engaged in agribusiness and if we really embraced agriculture, we will be able to really be the rich people that we want to be, because we have realized that there's a lot of money. Look at animal production. You will be able to realize that there's a lot of money there. When it comes to crop production also, where we also see and think that it is only for the farmers or maybe the poor in the rural areas, I must say you can do agriculture in any part of the world. Even if you're in an urban setting, you can still do horticulture, and really you can also earn yourselves monies, because we have seen people doing certain small things, and they are actually planting on sacks, even in the city center, and they're earning a lot of money from this. So you too can also be part of, and also really also get to tap in that market, and also tap and make advantage of that money that is yet to be invaded. And I must say, so many people have not yet indulged into agriculture, and really if it is an area that is still fertile, it is actually horticulture that you need to really also engage yourself in. And with that, really we are going to be putting a discussion to horticulture aside, and we are going to also be running for a short commercial break. This is still a Kokoliriko live show with me, Farish Majid. And from wherever you are watching us from, I want to say thank you, and thank you so much. But for now, let's first run in for a short commercial break, and when we return back, we still have lots more in stock for you. Thank you.
West Nile TV, lighting up the region. West Nile TV, lighting up the region.
All right, welcome back from that short commercial break. This is the Kokoliriko live show on West Nile TV, channel 0073 on Zuku, and also online from wherever you can stream us at any time and from any moment and anywhere. That is the beauty of the Kokoliriko live show on West Nile Television, and it's the beauty of West Nile Television also at large, that you can watch us from any part of the world and also share your opinions with us, and that is by streaming us online. And in a similar way, I want to appreciate the following people who have shared their opinions and who have also have their input. And I do want to appreciate Atsiku Bernard. I want to appreciate Kizito Gift, not forgetting to our Seme. I also want to appreciate Shamim K. Manzu, that is watching us all the way from overseas. But she is an ardent viewer of the Kokoliriko live show, and I believe she also very much wants to know of what is happening way back home, and that is what we are here to do for you. And that we not only limit it to West Nile sub-region, we go up to national scene and internationally. That is why you do not have to miss the Kokoliriko live show each and every mornings. I also want to appreciate Junior Asiku, and not forgetting that is also Asiku Bernard all the way from Bondo. And I must say thank you so much. And just like this poll, you can also really also share your views and say your opinions on what you think that needs to be done. And really that is also why I want to call you upon now to be part of the show. And really to be part of the show, it is quite simple. And yesterday, now moving on, yesterday, welcome back from the break. Yesterday, tempers flare as government tabled, that is 39 bills on merger of agencies. I really don't know why sometimes people do not want to have these agencies merged, because we really find that it's the same things, the same entities, different entities actually providing the same services. And really, if you have to look at these agencies, really we have quite many. And I believe if they were able to be merged, it would have its own advantages. I believe also it has its own disadvantages, because really we have seen some of these agencies that work as sole entities, I will not mention names, have also had their weaknesses. So I think where we join these agencies, first of all, we are going to see an expenditure cut, where we're going to see people where money government was actually spending on different entities will be able to be cut. And the disadvantage is that people are going to lose their jobs, because those who will not be able to fit in the new setting are going to definitely be left out. So that is why maybe this flare is rising. And yesterday, actually, we did see Parliament sitting, and this is where we did see some of the legislators actually coming out clearly to condemn some of the agencies, maybe some of the plans, and then the agencies government wants to merge. So I think that is where we did see also happening, and I really want to say that is something we are yet following up on. We shall be able to really let you know about and how this ends, because which are some of these agencies that maybe somebody will want to know that are going to be merged. Actually, if you look at UNRA and Ministry of Works, this is where the merger is going to be taking place. But I believe it is quite good for service delivery, because the same things are being done by different people. So I think that is, first of all, is taking government money, and if that is actually addressed, and then definitely that would also really be addressed. And at the end of the day, we will be seeing service delivery also being improved. So I think that is also something that we are now also talking about. And now moving away from that, hundreds of people, we are on February 20th, shocked after announcement aired on different radio stations, that is about the death of Jonathan Kirasha, 77, a different, that championed coffee trade in the Chigezi and Akole sub-regions. Really, this is where the Povankoli have also lost one of their people. And this is a businessman, and really shortly, social media was awashed by messages. And really, we know once these people die, these important people die, usually we see people actually very much rushing to mourn them. And that is why we are saying, you who is holding that office, or maybe who is holding that power, you need to really work very well with the people, because once something happens of this kind happens to you, they will always remember you, they will always remind themselves of how good you are to them. So that is why I must say that you need to also desist from certain of these things, and also talk about them, because once these people die, really I must say, people will always rush to say quickly, they always say, may their souls rest in eternal peace. They will always miss you for the good things that you do. That is why on this earth we need to do good things, irrespective of what you do. So long as you have that power, make sure that you utilize it properly, such that at the end of the day, you are not left out. And at the end of the day also, the people, your actions do not affect those people maybe who are in need of your services. And ready to move away from that. 3 siblings defiled and impregnated. That is also something we are seeing also in the stories here. And authorities in Mayuge district have expressed concern over growing cases of defilement after 3 underage pupils from the same family and the school were found seated at home after being impregnated. So that is something that we are seeing. It is quite bad, because really you are defiling the same family. How are you going to also ensure that what kind of shame are you putting on the family, and what kind of shame are you putting on the family? That is something that I must also say is not good. And the councillor representing youth at Butabuke Sub-County Council, Mr. Emmanuel Okori, discovered the trio was seated with their mother in Wamondo village within the same sub-county during a routine monitoring exercise to establish how many children stayed home after term 1 reopened. That was on February 15th. Remember, as a time where we are still seeing where people are returning back to school, where this sad incident where 3 siblings have been impregnated by a person yet to be identified is quite unfortunate, because these are people who will be able to go through to school, and we're expecting them actually during this period to now be going back to school. And remember recently where we did see school reopening, some of the learners are still home, and this is one thing I must say is quite bad, because really we are seeing that some of these children have not been able to return to school after this long holiday break. But we're saying it is time for them to actually now ensure that they actually go to school, such that such cases or maybe such incidences are avoided. And for those who are actually in society, we need to avoid certain of these activities, because really we are putting the girl child who is vulnerable to early pregnancy at risk, because we do not know maybe what happens to them, because these are really minors. These are still young children who are underage. And sometimes we understand that they go through a lot when it comes to going for labor. So I think as people of sound mind, we need to avoid certain of these activities. These are still young girls. We need to also really avoid them. And first of all, they are school age going. So that means we also need to have the mandate when it comes to avoiding activities in relation to pregnancy of these young girls, such that also maybe they will be perpetrators. They need to be brought to book. So I think the laws also need to be upped. For those who are involved in this shaming act also need to be brought to book, because really they continue to destabilize society, they continue to do wrong things, and their actions continue to affect the young girls maybe who were deceived for different reasons here and there. So I think that is something that we are also seeing. And then 3 siblings defiled and impregnated is quite shocking, because that is first of all a shaming. You are putting the whole family on shame, and the whole society is going to be ashamed of this action. And really maybe the person who did this feels is a village champion. Maybe that village champion also needs to be brought to book, because for you to continue doing certain of these activities, then definitely you are putting first of all the family at shame, and then secondly you are causing something that you are putting these people's lives at danger, because really these are young girls who are supposed to be going in school, and really putting them this kind of risk is very difficult. And now the girl's mother reportedly told Mr. Okori that the 16-year-old daughter had been impregnated by a married neighbor who has since denied responsibility, while the 14-year-old girl was allegedly impregnated by another in the same village who actually wanted us to marry her, but instead sent her back to her mother's home. The person behind the pregnancy of the 12-year-old remains unknown, because she declined to reveal identity. And Mr. Okori further revealed that 12-year-old girl 3 months pregnant, while 16 is 4 months pregnant. And this is where, as families, we need to have time with our children. And this is why reproductive, maybe also sexual knowledge is very important at early age. And this is one thing I also want to say. If the curriculum had this component of reproductive health, it would be quite good, because it will address certain of these activities, because some of these young girls engage in this sexual intercourse or maybe sexual activities without knowing how it can be dangerous to them, and where it could lead them only to find themselves pregnant, and where they do not actually know what to do next. So this is why, as families, we need to embrace the aspect of reproductive knowledge and also sexual education to the young ones. It is quite important, and this should not only be limited to the girl child, even to the boy child. We need to have time with our families, but in this region it is quite sad. We do not have time for sexual education. And in central Uganda, I must say, this is where I did see it happening, and this is why people are having that word of going to the bush, going to Insiko. So I think this was where we didn't know what was happening, but I must say this is where the aunties could actually sit down with the young girls and advise them, and also equip them with sexual knowledge and reproductive health knowledge, which is quite important. And that is why you would also see that the cases of early pregnancy in that region is very much minimal compared to the other parts of the region. But now in West Nile sub-region, where people feel talking about sexual education is shaming, where our uncles cannot really also tell the sons about about sexual education becomes very difficult, where the distance between our aunties and our mothers in terms of sexual knowledge is very, very much far. This is where we are seeing certain of these activities happening. So I think there's need for families to now embrace the aspect of reproductive and sexual education, because this is something that we are saying is resulting into these early and unwanted pregnancies, because certain of these girls, many of them could not be knowing what exactly they are doing. They will know about sex, yes, but they do not know the repercussions and implications of early sex. So I think it is why people need to also really embrace certain of these activities. And remember, this is where the issues of bride price, where maybe also where culture and tradition also needs to come on board and now start warning. And remember, over the days where we used to grow up, elders used to say that if you do have sex outside marriage, it will result into death of your family members. It will result into sicknesses of the family members, or maybe getting other negative occurrences here and there, which people believed in. So what is happening? And recently, when we went for the installation and then sitting of the Lubarakari king, he actually talked about this. And really, what can be done to avert certain of these activities is now what we need to know, because early pregnancy continues to bite each and every day, and we're seeing it continuing to happen. But really, what can we do now as stakeholders? That is the question that really I also want to echo out and also extend out to you, the viewer. How best can we avoid certain of these activities? Because really, early pregnancy continues to affect our neighborhood. Look at your neighbors, where we live. Look at your neighbors. At least there's that young girl who has produced below 20 years. And really, why am I saying 20 years? Why not want to limit it to 18 years is because 20 years, nowadays you find a 20-year-old person really either looking very big or very small, because 18 to me also is not good. So I think if there's also need for that age to be increased to 20, that would be quite good, because nowadays you see an 18-year-old girl, she's still very young and she's not ready for these things. So I think where we're seeing others growing fast, because you see an 18-year person looks like a 30-year-old, really it becomes quite good. So the people maybe who are in need of these things do not also see the age that they're going for, because the girl child is actually vulnerable to fast maturing, where you see the girls tend to grow very fast than the boys. And that is why maybe they're also victims of, that is, defilement. But really, I must say, defilement also needs not to be limited to only the girl child. What about the boys who are being forced into sex by these old or maybe mature women to also do it with them? What is government doing to help them? That is also something I want to also impress myself with. And I want to say sexual education is the way to go. As parents, we need to start having time with our girls. It does not mean that you're going to be quarreling with them, but rather during your good times, you can call your child and also say, yes, son, I've seen you are growing and I've started seeing you moving with that so and so's daughter. But I want to say this to you, please. It is still very early, and if you are going to be doing this, remember you have risks of HIV. HIV is still in place. We have other sexual reproductive diseases that are still also at risk, as a risk. Then you have unwanted and early pregnancies, which may also really not be good. What if you impregnated somebody, that daughter, who may die in your hands? So we need to all make people have that understanding of them not to engage early in these pregnancies, such that at the end of the day, they are avoided from really happening. So occurrences of early pregnancies will be avoided if our parents at all had times with our children. That would be quite good. But really, I want to also now give this task to the aunties, to the uncles, to ensure that they get time with their brothers' children or their sisters' children, and also equip them with sexual or reproductive knowledge. That to me would address these challenges of unwanted pregnancies among these children. So I think that would be quite good, and really it will be avoided, because we are not seeing that, we are seeing that quite happening, and that would also really be very good there. So I think really if that is addressed, then definitely we are going to be seeing success when it comes to addressing, that is, sexual and reproductive health. And now moving away from that, inmates shot while escaping from Jinja court dies. And remember, recently we did talk about this, where inmates were actually brought to court in Jinja for a hearing, but where they reached court premises, they attempted to really also escape. But really, one thing I must say could be a reason for inmates trying to escape here and there from the prisons, is because the lives in these prisons are not good. And really, it's where these people's rights are being violated, because really you are taken there for remand, where you also also see that once you get to understand there, because usually people say prisons is the university of understanding. It is where you go and understand intellectual or maybe by the difficult ways. So I think it is quite difficult. This is where we are seeing people want to break away from prisons, where we are seeing people, once inmates are brought to town, they want to escape. And over time, we have seen prison inmates escaping. It happened in Nauru at one time. We also did see it happen in Karamoja. We have seen it happen in the other parts of the country where we have reported cases of people attempting to escape from the prisons. So I think one reason they want to escape is because their lives are really being, their rights are being violated in these prisons, and the life in prisons is very not good. I do understand during the COVID-19 period, we did receive information that the prisons were very much full, and they were occupied by, that is the inmates, because they were beyond the capacity. And recently, when the NUP supporters actually were being visited, the same revelation also came through when the MPs of the NUP party did go to also the prisons to also for the hearing of their NUP supporters who were arrested. The same revelation was also made that the prisons are filled beyond their capacity. So I think there's need, if government can also maybe construct more prisons, also maybe decongest the prisons. This is for the maybe through also having this these courts that could sit and really also address these challenges. Maybe for those who have maybe small cases, because there are those whose cases are very minor. Maybe that could also really give them chance to reform, because after spending this time in jail, then you are released at maybe lessened days, lessened charges. That would also really question you. It would be also a great advantage for you, such that at the end of the day, people desist from certain criminal activities. So I think that is why I want to also call upon people to now desist from these activities and say, we can still do more, and that is how we need to embrace ourselves in, and also say that we can do more when it comes to also ensuring that we avoid going to prison, so avoid breaking the law. That is one thing that I also want to advise the public also need to work, that is under the laws. So I think we need to work under the guidance of the law. We need to desist from cases of breaking the laws, such that at the end of the day, we avoid cases of being taken to prisons. And an inmate who was shot as he attempted to escape from Jinja court cells has succumbed to his gunshot wounds at Jinja Referral Hospital. That is according to information from Uganda prisons. And that is also one thing I must say we need to desist from, because if that is not addressed, then definitely we shall be able to see people trying to escape. And the prison spokesperson, Mr. Frank Baine, identified the deceased as a 27-year-old Aben Mwanika, also known as Abu Sali. So I think that is something we are also talking about now. He succumbed. And last as the Jinja court session, we are paralyzed as prison warders fired bullets as Mwanika and one Ashraf Senoga, alias Vampire, both charged with aggravated robbery, really tried to escape from the court cell. So I think the duo has been denied justice by Jinja Grade 1 Magistrate, Ms. Anxious Atumanya. That is why people want to so really escape from the prisons. And as I said earlier on, life in these prisons is sometimes hell. It's not good, because if you interact with the prisons, they will tell you, my brother or my sister, I do not want to wish you to go there, because life there is always difficult. And that is one reason you will always see that people want to escape from, that is prisons. And in 2016, 6 inmates escaped from Maluku prison, that's in Mbale City. And in 2018, another escaped. And in 2019, 6 also took off. That is between 2020 and 2022. 12 cases of prison escapees were registered. So I think this is where we are saying, maybe if the courts could lessen the charges for these suspects, then definitely it will become quite advantageous to them, because the prisons, first of all, are filled beyond capacity, where the food is also not good, where the water is not good, the shelter is not good, where we're seeing also people dying because of that is several other activities, because of health, first of all, is poor. We have seen them being referred to the regional referral hospital. Usually it is not good, because I believe life in the prison is not very good there. So I think for those who have never been to prison, we need to also ensure that we desist from it, because really that life is very dangerous. It is never a good life, and that is one thing I must say we need to really also desist from. And now we are living in a period of several accident cases registered, and I must say within this week we also did see several accident cases registered, where unfortunately we did lose one of the senior 5 candidates who was from picking admission, did lose her life there in that accident there. And I must say this senior 4-vackist, who's supposed to be in senior 5, was among the 6 killed in 3 separate road crashes. And that is one thing I must say, it is really quite sad, because we are living at a time where really accident cases are being registered here and there. And remember this, during this period also, where we are seeing people moving in numbers because the children are returning back to school, parents are moving with their children. It is quite bad. And remember, we also did lose one of the teachers from this school, from this region, and she was actually laid to rest a few days ago, I think 1 or 2 days. She also died together with the sister, and really this was an engineer, former engineer with Kokoliriko. We did lose the two as they were also heading to UNEB to get the results for their schools. It was quite unfortunate, and really we continue for all those who lost their lives within this week or last week to really also for their souls to continue resting in eternal peace. But we say also, as we are on the roads, may God also protect us, because we do not know what we are going to encounter. Usually what we say about accidents, that these are sudden happenings that we do not expect to happen to us. They just happen because somebody leaves the home and doesn't know where next is going to, he is going to, and really doesn't know what could actually happen to them as they are traveling. So I think this is why people need to also ensure that they pray for themselves as they are on these roads, because a car may lose the brake, or maybe somebody who is overspeeding there under consumption of alcohol could actually come and knock you dead. And that is why once we're on these roads, we need to be very much vigilant. We need to be on the alert, such that maybe also the people whom we are entrusting our lives protect us, because the drivers, look at them, who are overspeeding. You have the mandate as people on these trucks, maybe who are traveling, to also tell them, no, look, as far as you are the driver, you can still reduce on the speed, and also sure that you do not overdrive, because if you overdrive, definitely we are going to see our lives in danger. And now this is something that we're also saying, that a student planning to join A-level is among the 6 people in 3 separate road crashes in Buikwe, Busenyi, and Mbarara district. This is in western Uganda. We also did see the accidents extending up to northern Uganda. And police said on Tuesday that 17-year-old Abela Tumusi Simire, a senior 4 vaquist, was knocked dead en route from picking her 2023 UCE certificate as results and admission later to senior 5 at Kabingo Girls Secondary School in Shema district. And really, she was riding on a motorcycle with her mother, Clinton Nitueshiga, when a senior truck knocked them at the Ruabuta Town Council along Barara Bushenyi, that is Bushenyi district. So I think those who are actually driving on this road, these are the drivers, and mostly these heavy trucks, we need to really also ensure that we drive slowly. And my humble appeal maybe is for these heavy trucks to move at night, because most of the times you have seen them causing accidents, more so when maybe they are parked on the roads, somebody comes and rams into them. We have seen these cases are being registered. We have also seen them losing brakes and knocking innocent people. So I think these heavy trucks, maybe if they could have their own roads, that would be quite good, or maybe also that would avoid them actually putting the lives of these innocent citizens at risk. So I think that is something that we also need to talk about and call upon people to also need to desist from these tendencies, such that at the end of the day, that would also really improve on the service delivery, maybe also improve on people's safety on these roads, because people, once they are not safe on these roads, and this is where traffic needs also to beef up the operations now in terms of checking the cars that are not fit to be on this road. More so those that are under dangerous mechanical conditions. If traffic police could also ensure that they test and check them, and those that don't fit on the road are put off, and also those that do not bear maybe also the other road requirements should also be arrested. And this is the drivers who do not have the permits, because sometimes also we do understand that these accidents are caused by these drivers who do not have the right qualifications. And that is one thing I must also really also say that we need to embrace, because our lives are danger, and we continue to lose people each and every day in terms of road crashes. And then maybe if government is also to construct our roads, that would also really greatly improve on reducing these accidents. And if you really to look at the road that stretches from the Arua Pakwat Road, it is in dire status that also needs upgrade. And really, I believe this road has already lived its use, and it is actually beyond now that maybe if a new tarmac could be put, because now that we are seeing that this road has actually lived its usefulness, and if government would actually put that in plan, that definitely would be able to see maybe accidents that are being caused by the poor road conditions being reduced, such that people who are taking long, and then people do not have to rush, because sometimes people want to rush because the buses get problems on the way. We're also seeing the trucks also getting challenges on the way. Once they break down, people have to now jump from the vehicle to another, and this is where also we are saying, once these cars break down, others come and ram into them, and these roads could actually be the ones causing these accidents. And just to summarize that discussion, and now moving on, worry as HIV drug shortage hits Kalangala. That is something that also we are seeing here, and we're saying really it is quite unfortunate. That is an area that has actually been known for having high numbers of HIV. Over time, we have known Kalangala district as one of the Kalangala Island, because we do understand islands are actually areas where we are seeing so many cases of HIV being registered. And once such places that have, where so many people are having the disease do not have access to the drugs, it becomes very difficult, because at the end of the day, those who actually need these drugs may not be able to really get the drugs. And once they do not get the drugs, definitely we are also seeing the negative implication on their lives. So I think just like them, there's need now maybe for government to also ensure that these antiretroviral drugs are really delivered, such that those who need the drugs have access to them. And this really, the lack of access to ARVs has forced the Infectious Disease Institute, the organization running the HIV program that is in the islands, to borrow ARV drugs from Masaka Regional Referral Hospital to address the drug shortages in affected health centers. And the most affected health centers include Magoye Health Center 3 and Kasekero Health Center 2, both in Mogoye sub-county. So Ms. Josephine Nakajugo, a nurse of Mogoye Health Center 3, says antiretroviral clinics do not have the drugs, and the services are very much being inconsistently delivered, and that is why it becomes very difficult. So for those who need the services, what does this put your lives at? Really, it means that people would not have access to these drugs, first of all, are going to start missing on their drugs, and that puts also their lives at danger, because once you start swallowing these drugs at that speculated time that has been stated to you by the medical personnel, you have to abide by that, and you have to ensure that you often swallow that drug at that prescribed time, such that at the end of the day, the disease does not become a burden to you, because if it weakens your immune system, then definitely it also becomes very much difficult. And once you start missing on the drugs, and once you start skipping your medication, I must say you are going to have maybe the HIV viral load increasing, and once it increases, it becomes very much difficult to be brought down, and that is why the immune system is weakened, and so many people may be able to also lose their lives. So I think this is quite good, and this is not quite good. It is quite unfortunate for them not to have access to these medications. And recently, we also did receive threats about maybe some governments, about more so the foreign governments that have been donating the drugs, saying they're going to cut the aid of donation of the HIV drugs. Maybe could it be resulting from that? Yeah, I'm yet to find out. But we also did receive that warning from the European government that they are going to cut short the donation about the HIV drugs if the government of Uganda does not accept certain laws, and really that is quite unfortunate. And really with that, we are going to be running for a short commercial break. And remember, we are moving with you up the hour of 9, and at 9 we shall be having the news bulletin in Lubarati with Mukulia Lawrence. And I can see him trying to assemble his coat and suit here and there. That means that he's actually ready. And really with that, let me first run for a short commercial breather, and when I return back, we still have lots more for you on the Kokoliriko morning updates. My name is Farish Majid. Thank you.
West Nile TV, lighting up the region. West Nile TV, lighting up the region.
All right, welcome back from that short commercial break. We are still continuing with the Kokoliriko morning updates on West Nile Television. My name is Farish Majid, and in case you are just joining us right now, you're most welcome aboard from wherever you're watching us from. It's always a great pleasure for you to be part of the show, and this is where we also let you know maybe of what is happening in the region, at the national scene and internationally. That is what we do best, and that is why we come in each and every mornings right from the hour of 7 a.m. to 9 a.m. and also to let you know of what is happening. It's always good to wake up to us because we are here to keep you informed, updated, and also in the know of what is happening in the world of news. So I think that is what we also do best, where we also let you know of what is happening in the region. We also go up national level and internationally. So meaning what we don't do is we don't limit our discussions to a specific area. We touch all the areas, and also we summarize usually the discussions with sports, and as we shall be able to also really also go on, and we shall be able to also really talk about sports. And today, it being a Wednesday, I must say so many schools are now registering learners. We are also seeing parents also taking back their learners, more so those for those joining senior 1, and also those who are trying to join senior 5 are now trying to move here and there in terms of dropping applications and also expressing interest into some of the schools that we are also seeing here. And yesterday, one story that I did talk about, I cannot exclude talking about, is the inclusivity, where we did see a child really having disability joining, that is entire school, and which is really after him scored a good performance, and really now well-wishers actually joined hands of also in terms of offering scholarship for this child. And really we expect the same when it comes to this region here, where we are seeing so many PWDs actually lack access to the next levels. Once they are done with primary level, they do not have where next to go, and I must say it is quite unfortunate, and it's quite sad. We do not have a secondary school that is specific for the PWDs, and most of the schools actually that are there in place do not have guidelines that really ensure that they offer a fertile ground for the PWDs to really also study through. So I think there's need for government to also ensure that they provide, that is, a fertile ground for PWDs. And now people who petition themselves for fees joins Teso College after monitor story. That is something also we are seeing here. A 14-year-old boy whose story was published, that was on one of the papers, that was in 2024, seeking help from President Museveni to join secondary school after attempting his primary level examination for the second time, has now finally joined Teso College Aloit after getting a scholarship from a Canadian citizen. And Mark Longora, who reported to Teso College on Monday for his O-level, couldn't hide his joy, thanking people really for ensuring that they also join hands. That is something that really we also say that we as a watchdog, we have to work for the society, and that is why as journalists we need to work for the society. Somebody who is really there in need of maybe in need of help, your pen and paper, maybe the microphone or the recorder, or it could be the photograph you take, could actually, or video perhaps, could just be what the person needs to change their stories. So I think that is why we need to work for the benefit of the society, and that is as West Nile Television, why we also here. It is to work for the benefit of society and also really enlighten the region. And remember, one way we are going to enlighten the region is actually through discussing issues that affect us from the society, and also talking about what happens right in the region here. And once we do not do that, trust me, we are doing a disservice, and that is why each and every time we come here and discuss issues that really happen and that have also affected the society, and that is something we also cannot exclude talking about really in the show. And that is why we need to also really ensure that we take what we discuss here seriously. And government to borrow shillings 13 trillion in the next financial year, and that is one thing also we are seeing here. And the government is expected to borrow shillings 13 trillion from the external and domestic markets to fund budget that is projecting in the 2024 financial year. And the shillings 13 trillion is at least shillings 1.5 trillion higher than the 11 trillion which government would have borrowed by the end of this financial year. In details contained in the budget framework paper for the 2024/2025 financial year, the Ministry of Finance noted that out of the shillings 13 trillion, at least shillings 8.9 trillion will be borrowed externally, while shillings 4.1 trillion will be sourced domestically. So I think that is something we are still following. The amounts are relatively higher from the shillings 8.3 trillion and the shillings 3.2 trillion earmarked to be borrowed, that from the both external and domestic markets respectively in the current financial years. So what does this mean really? That is what you need to also ask yourselves. And government has been increasing domestic borrowing through issuance of bills and bonds, but has recently borrowed directly from commercial banks, which experts have warned risks crowding out private sector lending. So the Ministry of Finance has previously indicated that it will, in the medium term, maintain domestic borrowing to not more than 1% of gross domestic product to avoid crowding out of the private sector. So I think that is something we are still seeing here. Also, we are saying what can be done to really avoid the excessive borrowing. That is something that we also need, because the burden of this payment of these taxes goes back to the final taxpayer, and it is you who is actually, as the citizen, you also have the mandate to pay these monies. That is in terms of paying your taxes, and that is why we need to ensure that we fulfill our tax obligations. We need to avoid running battles with the tax enforcement officers here and there. We need to desist from smuggling, such that at the end of the day, we do not also engage maybe in excessive borrowing, so that the government can fund its own budgets, and where we also need to pray that government needs to avoid these excessive borrowings, because if it's not addressed, then definitely the final burden continues to really go on. And government, through the Charter of Fiscal Responsibility, which maintains public debt within sustainable levels, will concentrate on, among others, reduction of, that is, public debt to 50% in the 2024/2025 financial years. So I think, however, the budget framework paper also noted that there are still existing risks to economic recovery stemming from both the domestic and global environment, which might affect growth projections and revenue collections. So that is something that we are also seeing, because really money revenue collections, definitely once the taxes are very much high, definitely there's also an impact, and that is one thing I must say we need to also really resist and also talk about, because really if that is not addressed, then definitely we are going to be able to be hit by the burden of paying these taxes, because the final consumer, or maybe the final receiver of these monies in terms of services, because these monies are borrowed to also fund the government, where you also expect the money to go into governance, for instance in security, or maybe health or education sector, or the rest. This is where the money actually goes through to. So I think that is one thing I also want to say, that if we are to avoid maybe this kind of excessive borrowing that has its own burdens on you, the viewer, or maybe the taxpayer, definitely you need to desist from cases of smuggling, first of all, and then tax compliance is always very, very much key. You need to also ensure that you pay taxes at time. So I think that is something we also need to talk about, and we cannot also exclude talking about. And now to summarize the discussion and really I must say that so many things are happening, and really also to summarize the discussion, as usual we summarize with sports. And yesterday we did have, as a period we are living in, we are expecting very soon the secondary school games to also commence, where we are seeing actually them now beginning training, and they are also sourcing players from one school to another, where we have seen them actually very much engaging, and we expect the games very soon. And really, when the right time comes, we shall be able to sort of let you know of what is happening, maybe which school they are going to participate here and there. But one school I must say is going to participate this year is St. John's College Ombachi, after the year of being off following last year's exit where they didn't perform. But this year they are returning, according to information we are seeing. Also, we are seeing them training already now, and they are going to participate. And we now expect, what do you expect of them? Are we expecting hooliganism? Are we expecting them to really also react in the way that could stop them from participating in the next years? After this kind of performance that they did put in the UCE results, are we expecting them to also turn rowdy? That is something I do not know, but rather we expect them to be disciplined. We expect them to be good citizens, because really in these games at times also see violence a lot. Because last year, if you remember, we didn't see violence maybe very much with football, but athletics, where we did see violence at Barifa. So we do not expect the same instances to happen. And that is how really we want to summarize the discussion about football in this region. And yesterday we did have also a game in Champions League, but really before we get into that, I must say URA did have their final training that is in preparation for Uganda Cup against Midigo Calvary, that is in Yumbe District, as the game is believed to be taking place today. And the teams are actually set, that is to participate in this level of the competition, because really that is actually the level that will be able to usher the teams to the round of 16. And any team that takes up the win there straight will advance. And so many other games we also played yesterday and now in the Champions League, which is actually the game of men. Yesterday there will be a game. Yesterday there was no game, but yesterday we had a game in Premier League, one game that was between Manchester City and Brentford. The game ended in 1-0, that is in favor of Brentford. And today we shall be able to swabbing a game that is in the Premier League, that is between Liverpool and Luton Town. And the game will also be there live. And in the game of Champions League, which is actually the game of men, the round of 16 will be able to go on today, as that is FC Porto will be taking on Arsenal, as Napoli will be able to take on Barcelona, and we shall be able to really let you know of how these games transpire. That is come tomorrow, and later on also on the show, that is the whistle time with Owen Ezaga, Linda Suzy and Oraku Benson Pastore. They will be able to also really let you know of maybe of more in the world of sports. That is through the whistle time, starting right from the hour of 2 p.m. until 3 p.m. So you need to be part of that show. This is for the sports lovers, for those who love sports. That is actually the show where you will be able to get detailed analysis and information when it comes to the world of sports, ranging from football, athletics, and the other sports disciplines. So you need to be part of that by only watching us from anywhere at any part of the world. Only be part of the show. You will be able to really get detailed analysis of the sports world through Owen Ezaga, Linda Susan, or Akubenso Pastori. That is from 2 p.m. And really with that, we are coming to a closer of today's edition of the Kokoliriko Live Show with me, Farish Majid. Today is a Wednesday, and we are already in the middle of the week. And the question that you should be asking yourself now is that, how prepared are you for the week to end? And then maybe what are the plans that you laid at the beginning of the week, and how are you planning to achieve them, and how much have you attained when it comes to the plans that you laid at the beginning of the year? So this is the very time you need to start making assessment and evaluation of maybe how you laid the plans at the beginning of the week and how they could be progressing. So I think that is one thing that where I want to summarize the discussion with, as I also pave way for the Eolas team to come through, because I can see them actually now moving, jumping here and there, trying to arrange the courts here, and they also, the hair, Mukulia is very smart, and he is actually ready to also let you know of what is happening in the world of Eolas. And really with that, we come to a close of today's edition of the Kokoliriko Live Show. In a special way, I want to thank you who watched us right from the time we began until this hour of the morning. And for you also shared your comments, thank you so much, and really for watching us from wherever you did watch us from. And now we come to a close of the discussion, and we shall be able to return tomorrow. That is on the same time, the same show, and then the same platform where you're watching us from. And I want to say thank you so much. From me to you, have yourselves a good day, and I wish you a goodbye. Thank you.